Hello, KRASHYS channel! I'm BrawlFan1, though you can just call me BJ. I usually spend my time making theoretical concepts for Super Smash Bros., coming up with moveset ideas for characters that people want to see in Smash, but probably never will be in Smash. But with the new year, I'm ready to branch out, and with KRASHY's help, I've decided to start making movesets for a new game, Pokémon Unite. A game with its fair share of problems, but still a ton of fun. And after seeing the creative ways that the developers integrate the traditional Pokémon moves in unique ways that perfectly fit the Pokémon using them, how could I not want to try to make some myself over Pokémon that have yet to be seen in the game? Now, this is technically episode 2 of the series. Episode 1 just now went live on my own channel. So if you finished watching this episode and would like to see the other one, be sure to hop over to the BrawlFan1 channel to see that Pokémon's moveset firsthand. That Pokemon is my personal favorite, but that's not why you're watching this video. You're here to see this video's current subject, which just so happens to be KRASHY's most wanted Pokemon for Unite. For those of you who frequent KRASHY streams, you already know exactly who that is. Mewtwo, the genetic Pokemon, a psychic type first discovered in the Kanto region. Mewtwo is widely considered to be the most powerful Pokemon in the world, and it has very much earned that title, though not by its choice. Mewtwo is the result after years of horrific gene splicing and genetic manipulation, an experiment done with one purpose in mind: to clone the mythical Pokemon Mew and create the world's strongest Pokemon. And they succeeded. Mewtwo is savage, only thinking of destroying anyone that disturbs its seclusion, never showing signs of mercy except to those rare few to surpass it. And now it's here today to show its ruthless and overwhelming power to all that face it in Pokémon Unite. Mewtwo is a jack of all trades, yet still a master of all. As such, I think it only appropriate for Mewtwo to be an all-rounder, being fairly balanced but mostly shines both offensively and defensively, while also being very capable in providing excellent support for its team. Mewtwo has no evolution, so it starts and finishes as is. Its ability can be pressure, having Mewtwo overwhelm its opponents with its sheer presence alone. If a foe attacks Mewtwo with a move, that move's cooldown is increased by a couple of extra seconds, due to them being too hesitant to want to use it again, slowing its opponent's pace while Mewtwo itself continues to gain momentum thanks to its oppressive gameplay. In fact, that pretty much describes Mewtwo to a T. Oppression. Mewtwo can have a melee basic attack, with every third hit becoming boosted, and that boosted attack holding foes in place for a bit. For Mewtwo's starting moves at levels 1 and 3, its first can be Confusion, but this will be working very differently than the forms of confusion that we've seen in Unite up to now. Mewtwo will shoot a small psychic ray forwards that flies a decent distance, and if it can hit a single foe, Mewtwo will lift that foe into the air, then immediately slam them back down into the ground, dealing damage and leaving that foe stunned for a bit. Its other starting move can be Disable. This has Mewtwo fire psychic energy from its eyes forward a short distance, also only capable of hitting one foe. But the foe hit by it will have the last move they used completely locked out for the next few seconds, effectively having it be forced into a short cooldown. Upon reaching level 5 is when Mewtwo gains access to its first option to replace Confusion. The first choice is Psychic, which works as a huge upgrade to Confusion. Mewtwo creates a psychic field all around itself, and all foes within that field will all be lifted into the air by Mewtwo's immense psychic powers, then all be slammed into the ground at the same time, dealing damage and stunning each and every victim. And when this move is upgraded at level 11, it gains 2 additional effects depending on how many foes it catches with Psychic. If it catches multiple foes, they'll all have their movement speed lowered after being slammed into the ground. But if it only catches one foe, Mewtwo suspends that foe in the air for a little bit and effectively force chokes them, dealing additional damage to that poor trooper before they're then slammed into the ground. Mewtwo is not afraid to add insult to injury. This move is a terrifying crowd control option, effectively removing whole squads of Pokemon from fights if they're all foolish enough to get too close to Mewtwo. The other option it gets at level 5 can be Swift, and unlike Eevee's version, which I swear misses most of the time, Mewtwo's version of Swift is true to the games and never misses. What this move does is has Mewtwo surround itself in stars, and while surrounded by stars, its melee basic attack is completely replaced by an auto-ranged basic attack, having Mewtwo shoot homing stars at foes within range. This is only temporary, it lasts until the stars wear off. While active though, it shares the same properties as Mewtwo's melee basic attack, dealing similar damage and boosted effects. That said, the Swift boosted auto actually will gain a secondary effect once the move is upgraded at level 11. It adds a movement speed debuff to foes that the Swift boosted auto hits on top of the short place hold that it already does. So Swift is definitely much more of an offensive attack damage carry option compared to Psychic's more crowd control based functionality. But it might be worth considering if you notice that your opponents keep their distance from one another and are able to easily outrange you. Just like Mewtwo itself, you'll have to play fierce, but smart. Next, upon reaching level 8, that'll be your second option to replace Disable with. The first move can be Barrier. This has Mewtwo surround itself in a temporary dome barrier. This barrier can be walked through by all players, but being inside of it reduces all damage done to Mewtwo as well as his allies. Mewtwo is able to move around while the barrier is up, and doing so has the barrier follow Mewtwo's position, with Mewtwo always remaining in the center. It continues doing this until the barrier vanishes or if Mewtwo is knocked out, which will cause it to disappear automatically. Now, when Barrier is upgraded at the rather late level 14, this adds an additional effect, making it so that Mewtwo and all allies within the barrier become immune to all ranged basic attacks for a short time. Not during the whole barrier's duration, but they can each now ignore a few ranged attacks per barrier use. Barrier is arguably Mewtwo's greatest support option to lengthen its own and allies' survivability. And even when used with other attacks, it lets it position itself for psychic attacks with less worry, or it could let you outlive ranged battles while using Swift. And lastly, for Mewtwo's second level 8 move to choose from, it could be Miracle Eye. This puts Mewtwo into a temporary state where its attacks are able to completely ignore the Unstoppable status. You heard me right, the one status that allows Pokemon to ignore crowd control or prevent themselves from getting stuck in place. Miracle Eye allows Mewtwo to completely ignore it and apply hindering effects like normal. Let's say, for example, we have Blastoise using Surf. While surfing, it becomes unstoppable and ignores all attacks that would hinder it. But then Mewtwo comes up, uses Miracle Eye, then Psychic on Blastoise. Blastoise's Surf will actually get cancelled as it gets lifted and slammed. And if you think that's scary, this also applies to Unite moves as well. That's right, with Miracle Eye, Mewtwo is powerful enough to perform a miracle and cancel Unite moves that make their users unstoppable, which is pretty much most of them. And on top of that, when upgraded at level 14, all attacks Mewtwo deals to unstoppable foes while under the effects of Miracle Eye will deal more damage. Now, with all of that said, there is a caveat to this. If you cancel a Unite move, that user's Unite charge won't actually be wasted. It instead is only reduced to a 98% charge. so that cancelled user will be able to use the Unite move again in just a few seconds, giving Mewtwo enough time to stop a Unite, maybe save someone, then counterattack. But if it's not careful, that foe could unleash their Unite again well before Mewtwo regains access to Miracle Eye. On top of that, this does apply even if you cancel a Unite move that's almost finished, so if you time it badly and wait too long, you could accidentally give your opponent 2 Unite moves in a row. Despite this, so long as you play smart, just like with everything else in Mewtwo's arsenal, you will be able to cause some real damage to your opponent's plans. Plus, this still puts your opponents into a deep psychological situation. Do they save their Unite until after Miracle Eye wears off? Or do they do it as soon as possible before Mewtwo shows up or gets access to Miracle Eye again? It all depends on both the opponents and Mewtwo, with the smarter player being the one to come out on top. In fact, that's probably the best way to describe Mewtwo as a whole: playing smart. I know you can argue that that should apply to all characters, but it's especially true for Mewtwo. If you can think ahead, keep your opponents on their toes, and manage your time well, your foes will not have any breathing room, as Mewtwo's oppressive nature proves as a constant reminder to not mess with the world's strongest Pokémon. For Mewtwo's Unite move, learned at level 10, I call it Psy-Splicing Strike, an upgraded version of Mewtwo's signature Psy Strike. This has Mewtwo create a large orb of concentrated psychic energy that it throws straight forward. This orb moves at a near crawl, flying very slowly, so it's not great for long range, but if you shoot it at a target point blank, it becomes a huge problem for opponents to deal with. Foes within the orb's area of effect take constant damage, and it also lowers their special defense, causing it to deal even more damage. Just like everything else in Mewtwo's moveset, Psy-Splicing Strike is incredibly oppressive, especially if you use it to contest an objective. Let's say the teams are fighting over Zapdos. As its health gets low, all Mewtwo has to do is fire that orb over Zapdos. The opponents are then left with a choice. Either take the damage so they can secure Zapdos, possibly risking a knockout before they get the chance, or they avoid the orb and possibly lose Zapdos entirely. It's not a fun situation to be in, but then again, you're facing Mewtwo, so of course it's going to be difficult. Nothing about Mewtwo has ever been easy. Well, unless you used the Master Ball, but where's the honor in that? And that does it for What If Mewtwo Was in Pokémon Unite. Now, before we end things off, here's a fun thing that I'd like to discuss with you guys: the Hollowware. Here's a fun idea that I had for Mewtwo. For the end of each episode, I'll present a single idea for Holloware for the Pokemon, and if you guys have any ideas of your own for the Pokemon, so in this case Mewtwo specifically, please feel free to share it in the comments or even draw an idea for Mewtwo yourself and send it to me on Twitter with the hashtag WhatIfUnite. I'd be more than willing to show off your art of the Mewtwo Holloware in the next episode, though if you do, please put your signature on it. Also, Armor Mewtwo doesn't count. I already beat you guys to it. Gotta be more creative than that. And as a reminder for KRASHYS audience, the next episode will be on the Brawl Fan 1 channel. Speaking of which, if you guys have any requests for a specific Pokemon concept for Unite, please tell me in the comments who you'd like to see. You can also send your requests to my Twitter at BrawlFan1 on Twit. Anyways, if you enjoyed what you saw and would like to see even more Pokemon be given possible Unite movesets, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Of course, you should be subscribing to Krashy as well if you haven't already. Some of these episodes will be posted here, but even besides that, Krashy posts great Unite videos that can help people improve at the game. I know they've been a great help to me. So, with all of that said, I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching!